Hello everyone. So today we're going to be looking at the lid component of our jewellery box on shape, and this is the kind of final point of our assembly until we actually do the assembly. So as you see on the videos, it says jewellery box or Heirloom box and then parts for assembly. So we're making the parts to be assembled in an assembly document like this. Okay, so these guys all come together, and there's mates and relationships between all of them, and they can, hinge off each other and things like that. So if I go to view the lid lift, I can actually see. Oh yeah, I can just move it up and down, but it doesn't move side to side or anything like that. It only moves up and down because there's a relationship between. So it won't move side to side. It's not supposed to. It moves with everything else. But that's because there's a relationship between the lid and the base. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our parts studio and we can start modeling the lid. As you see, that assembly was a bit out of whack. That's because I had to try and edit some parts there. So our front long edge panel is there. So this is the front of our box and this is the back. And we want to do some things before we make our lid. Okay. The number one thing we want to do is we want to create a groove for a hinge to sit in. Okay. Because if we were to mount a hinge on this back edge, right, it would be protruding. Okay. So there would actually be a gap at the back and then it would close flat at the front. So there'd be no gap at the front and a gap at the back. And that would look not great. Okay? So we want to make a little recess for our hinge to sit in. And we want to make it the exact height of our hinge so that the whole lid closes really nicely. And we're going to do the same thing on the lid as well. So if you can see what's in my hand here, this is a brass hinge, very small one, and when it's closed, it looks like that. Okay, so the thickness of this brass hinge, right, needs to be taken off in our little recess this side and on the top side, which will be the lid. Okay, so the height of each face will be, well, the height of the overall hinge is determined by these little guys in here. Maybe you can see better like that. So this face here, right? The barrel is irrelevant because that should be accounted for to some degree. It might add a little bit of additional height, but it should be alright. Now, how are you going to get a hinge into this workspace? Great question. You go to Onshape, and you go into your teams, your template. I will share this with whoever I'm getting to model it. Scroll down, you might have to, but you're basically getting your brass hinge. So click on brass hinge and go duplicate and have one open, have your box open, have the brass hinge open as well. And we're just going to right click on this part studio. Okay, and we're going to duplicate the workspace. Okay, so right click on the part studio and duplicate the workspace. I'm looking at the text and it's not the best quality. I might try and fix that in future, especially for this kind of text heavy activity. So I've copied the workspace. Alright. Oh, sorry. I want to copy it, not duplicate it. My bad. Instead, right click on the part studio and copy to clipboard is what you want to click on, not duplicate. That's my bad. Then go back to your assembly, your Onshape jewellery box assembly. And when you go plus icon this time, so plus for to create a new part studio, go paste tab because it's in your clipboard, right? So now, as you can see, I have a brass hinge tab that just popped up. Beautiful. So we now have all in the same studio, all in the same workspace, everything that we need. So I'm going to use, I'm going to leave this in here because why not? And I'm just going to figure out what the dimensions are of my brass hinge. Now, I will note that it's the exact same dimensions as the actual brass hinges that you'll be using. Okay. The only difference really is the amount of barrel connectors it has. This one has 2 and then 3, while this one is just a 2 and 2 design, which is a lot better for modelling, and it'll be a lot easier for you. So I'm just going to go into the first extrusion, I think, because I know that this is 38mm by about 9.8 or something. And let's see where our first extrusion happened. We get our first sketch. Yeah, so this is our first sketch. Tick that, and then we go to first extrusion. And the height of it is 1.5mm. So it should have an overall height of about 3mm. So let's work with that. So back to my Art Studio. I'm going to come to my top, and I'm going to hinge off the back edge. So I want to do a sketch on my back panel, my long edge panel. So sketch. And I'm going to do my recessing on one side and then the other side. So I'm just going to draw a construction line on how far I want it to be in. And I might go about on this back edge, about 50mm in from the edge, just to make it really easy. So 50mm, enter. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, and from this corner, not the back corner, this corner. So 50mm, enter. Turn this aircon off. It's really cold. And then I can now do my rectangles from here. Okay. So I'll also do a line just 38mm across. Actually, I don't even need to do that. So I'm going to get rid of that and this one. I just need to remember how much depth my brass hinge has. So if I go to sketch 1, it's 9.85mm, so 23.7 minus 4 divided by 2. Don't you love the calculating features in Onshape? So 9.85 is our magic number. Cool. So I'm going to grab my corner rectangle tool, alright, corner rectangle or G, and I'm going to come to this point here with it highlighted. And my first dimension will be at least for the length. It might change what order it does it in for you, but 38mm. And then it's going to be 9.85mm deep. Alright. Now, as you can see, it's just up on the edge here. So there'll be like a 2.15 mil difference, okay? Which is enough space, so that's fine. And then I'll do the same on the other side. So 38, enter, and then 9.85, which is great. So enter on that. 9.85. Lovely. Oh, I think something locked to something, so I'll just go Control Z. We don't want it to be. We don't really need the relationship. So 38, enter, and then 9.85, enter. Beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to now tick those sketches and extrude those two little recesses out of this oval shape. Okay. Now notice it's on the back edge, not the front edge. That's what we want. So extrude, and we're going to remove that material. Okay. Now, as you can see, the merge scope is back long edge. You may not be able to read that, but it says back long edge. We want it to merge with our front long edge part, or back long edge part, front long edge. So the extrusion we're going to do is 1.5mm down. Okay, so you can do a blind extrusion, that's fine. I'm just going to tick that, and it should be the perfect recess on both sides. Lovely. Okay, now I am going to keep going. Now I'm going to make the lid, essentially. And this should be really easy, this part. We're going to select the top face, not this groove, but the top face. We're going to do a sketch. We're going to do a corner rectangle. And we're going to go from corner to corner. So it should be, what, 340 by 220. Yeah, perfect. And then we're going to tick that, sketch. We're going to select that sketch, then we're going to extrude it. Now when we extrude this time, we don't want to extrude it straight from that face. We're going to do a starting offset. So this will offset our extrusion from this sketch. So let's make that 50 mm offset. Enter. Could even go like 100. Enter. And then our lid height is only going to be probably 12 mm, maybe even like 9 mm. But let's make it 12 mm, and it's a new part, so let's tick that. So I'm going to call this the lid. Let's rename it. Lid. Enter. And now I'm going to do something that's a bit more fun. I'm going to hide everything, and we're going to do the exact same removal of the extrusions on this top edge, right? So this is the back face, because if I go back along each panel, you'll see it pop up at the bottom there. So I'm going to back face. I'm doing a sketch on this face. Well, I better just, yeah, so I'm selecting the bottom face of that. Yeah, face of extrusion. Let me just angle it. So yep, perfect. So that sketch is on. Oh, I think it's on the top face. Oh no, it's on the bottom face. Never mind. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing as we did on the side. So we're going to go construction line. We're going to go 50 mm in from this side. Enter. And we're going to come over to this side. Grab our line tool. Construction line. 50 mm in. Enter. And then grab our rectangle tool. And we're not going to use construction lines. This is going to be 38. Enter by 9.85. Enter. And then the exact same thing on the other side. 38 by 9.85 mils. Enter. Beautiful. Tick it. Extrude it. Both of those little faces. And they're going to be getting extruded 1.5 millimeters once again. And we're going to remove that material, not add it. And make sure it's going up into the lid. You can change the direction if you need. And then that's good to go. Now we're going to, for our next video, we're going to start the assembly. So that was a nice quick one. Yeah, I think we can just leave it at that for this video. So that's good. So let's stop the recording and I'll see you for the next video.